Hello there, everyone, and welcome to GamePoints episode 323, your weekly get-together. We talk about recent gaming news. As always, your host, Stephen Brown, and tonight, everything, and I mean damn near everything, is delayed, and THQ Nordic tips a bit of its hand, just a little bit, with their recent showcase. We'll be going over all that and a little bit more on what looks to be a short episode of GamePoints, considering that nothing is happening right now. We're in that weird dead period between conferences. No major releases other than one really big one coming out, which we'll also go over before the show is over with. But for the most part, kind of a lull before the storm as we start approaching the winter/fall season of a admittedly sparse 2022. But first, before we get into any of that, I want everyone here to know this is an audience interactive podcast. So if you're watching us here live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here at Twitch TV/GamePoints, feel free to join in the conversation with any questions, comments, concerns, etc. you might have. If you can't join us live, however, you can always go to any myriad of video hosting platforms, be they YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, all the old favorites. And of course, if you like what you see here and you want to support the stream, you know what to do when it comes to that, when it comes to liking, sharing, subscribing, bits, all the things that streamers want. All right, let's go ahead and get right into things. First up, I want to talk about the recent THQ Showcase that dropped last week. Now, THQ Nordic has kind of filled in that middleware half step between indie and publisher that used to be very prevalent in the early 2000s or so. PlayStation 3 was full of these titles. So it's no surprise to see a lot of them coming back in some various shape or form under this THQ Nordic banner. They have gathered up a impressive collection of B tier and C tier IP, and they have been cranking them out. Last week they did their version of a Nintendo Direct and started showing us what is on slate, though they still have many surprises in store if they are to be believed. I'm going to go over a few of the highlights from this thing. This is by no means a comprehensive list, but I did want to at least mention a few things as we go into the THQ Showcase. First up, they did announce that Alone in the Dark is coming back. It is a reboot of the IP that has more or less been kind of meh, except for the very first one. For those who don't know, Alone in the Dark is one of the great grandfathers of survival horror. This predated Resident Evil, I believe, by a few years. The whole haunted house, limited or no ammo situation when you're running from scary things as they try to murder the hell out of you. It's gone some iterations over the past few years, as well as a very unfortunate Uwe Boll movie starring Christian Slater. The most recent Alone in the Dark remake was simply just called Alone in the Dark, I believe. There was also Alone in the Dark Inferno, but that was a different console version of it. And despite having some amazing fire physics to it, the game itself was kind of meh. They seem to be going back to the drawing board and setting it into its more original origins, making it kind of a southern gothic horror set in the early 20s with Lovecraftian influences all over the place. Hey there, Ninja Wolf, good to have you, and yes, everything is delayed. We'll be getting more into that in a second. My biggest concern here is that I'm seeing a lot of Bloober Team and influence on here. Now, I do like Bloober Team to a degree, but I like it because I keep it limited to a game a year or so from them. I don't necessarily like the massive onslaught of horror walking sims I see coming out here. Hopefully Alone in the Dark does have some action to it. It did seem to be so in the trailer. But I'm more worried that they could just be pulling a layers of fear here. It could work for Alone in the Dark, but honestly, I'm really getting tired of that formula where you just kind of walk down spooky corridor and spooky thing jumps out at you. I need a little bit more meat on that bone, which is kind of also why I'm a little bit worried about the rumored Silent Hill project or whatever it is Bloober Team's working on as well. The interactive movie has its place, but after a while I do kind of crave a little bit more. Just a little bit more, you know. Also at the THQ Showcase was Tempest Rising. This is straight up Command & Conquer. Really looking forward to that. Wreckathon, made by the former devs of Burnout. It looks like essentially Burnout crossed with Hot Wheels. Many interesting track configurations, and I don't mean just here's an oval you can go around. They have like the loop-de-loops and the jumps and all that good stuff. Space for Sale got this very confused of High on Life for a moment. It's a science fiction house flipper. Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed, remake of Destroy All Humans 2. If you played Destroy All Humans 1 Reprobed, probably have an idea of what you're getting into here. They're remaking Gothic, which was an old 2001 action RPG. It had some big issues in the past, but hopefully they get ironed out. I liked the idea of that game. I remember playing it when it first came out and going, this is pretty rough. But there is room for improvement on here. If they pull it off, they could start doing some Greedfall level stuff with it. Jagged Alliance 3. This is a franchise that has long languishing in obscurity. I'm glad to see it coming back. It's a tactical game where essentially you lead a bunch of mercenaries. I want to say the original games were in some kind of South American. I think one of them was South America, the other was Southeast Asia. A very jungly atmosphere to it as you lead mercenaries to overthrow a dictatorial nation. You can go a lot of ways with this. I'm hoping the new one gives this franchise the fresh kick it needs. Jagged Alliance was great, but it very much was a product of its time. It shows its age now. Outcast 2, it's the sequel to that weird cult hit Outcast. I'm going to be honest with you, I know very little about it. I was never a fan of the first one, so the second one just kind of bounces right off me. Knights of Honor 2, once again, know nothing about this series, but it looks like a cross between Crusader Kings and Total War. SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake was also announced. Now, people love this goddamn franchise. And I don't mean just SpongeBob SquarePants itself, but I mean that Battle for Bikini Bottom game. It has this weird cult around it of people who loved it. So when that Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated or whatever it was announced, I know a lot of people that were very excited for it. And they seem to be capturing that excitement and putting it into a new game. Finally, they showed Way of the Hunter. It's a co-op hunting game. Think like the Cabela stuff, but it seems to be a little bit more semi-based than even that. That should be out nowish. And they ended with a tease of something related to South Park. Who knows what the hell? All you see is the logo for South Park Studios, and that's it. Is this a third RPG that they're working on, a la Stick of Truth or Fractured Butthole? Are they going to try to do another genre? Maybe it's South Park karting. For all we know, that is what it could be. No word on what the hell it might be at all. I would imagine that since it was teased, you'll probably see something on it soon-ish, maybe with Gamescom, which is around the corner. But until then, we can only speculate as to what that game may be. Maybe I could try Dead by Daylight. You know, I did try Dead by Daylight. I tried Friday the 13th. I tried all of those asymmetric horror games, and none of them really clicked with me. Because if you're not playing as the killer, you really need to be able to communicate with your other team members, and I am notoriously antisocial when it comes to my gaming. I don't like playing games multiplayer for the most part. You'll occasionally see me in a Call of Duty match. I might once in a while play like an RTS multiplayer, but for the most part, I like mine to be single-player experiences. So if I'm playing something like Left 4 Dead or Dead by Daylight, I just kind of want to play it on my own. I don't want to play with other people, and you really can't with those. It's going to be real interesting when 40K Darktide comes out, if it comes out, considering it's been delayed again, how that is going to go. That kind of wraps up the THQ Nordic Showcase in a nutshell. I just wanted to do a quick run-through of things. If I had to pick something from here, I'd say that Alone in the Dark remake, I'm somewhat excited for it. I remember playing the first one way back when it first came out. Yes, I'm that old. And being legitimately scared from it. Now, you look at it today, and that's laughable. But I hadn't played any kind of horror game before up until that point. And I was like 9 or 10 or something like that when that game was out. Maybe a little bit older, but not by much. It terrified me. And it really is the foundation of survival horror. That and Sweet Home, which is an old Super Nintendo Japanese game. You can really see the influences of both those games in what would become Resident Evil. And I am hoping they go back to its more horror run for your life roots than the, okay, there is a weird demon coming at me and I have a shotgun and a machine gun to mow it down. I've got Doom for that. Alone in the Dark needs to focus on the horror more than the action, and that is where that franchise has gone astray, unfortunately. So if they bring it back, maybe we can get something decent from it. Also, I would say that Tempest Rising is really speaking to me from that showcase. Like I said, it's essentially Command & Conquer. They even kind of tout as the return of the real-time strategy. I love real-time strategies. My biggest concern, however, is that it doesn't have a campaign. As we established earlier, I don't like playing with other people. I want to play a story. I want to play Tempest Rising as a story, and hopefully we get that. All right, enough of the THQ stuff. The link to the show, by the way, will be provided down below, regardless of where you're watching at. You can also find it over on our Discord server. The link is down there somewhere, too. Next story that I want to move to is from Video Game Chronicle. Now reference to a PlayStation PC launcher has been discovered in SpiderMan PC. Not good, but let's go to the article itself here. Link to which will also be provided down below. Sony could soon introduce its own launcher for PC games following the footsteps of Ubisoft, Rockstar, and Activision Blizzard. References to a PlayStation PC launcher has been found within the files of Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered, which launched on PC last week, suggesting that the platform could be in Sony's future plans. VGC has verified the files and seen the reference to the PlayStation PC launcher. This follows the discovery that Sony could be planning to introduce PlayStation Network integration to its PC games as well. While neither Marvel Spider-Man nor any other PlayStation Studios PC game currently allows connectivity with PSN accounts, Spider-Man files contain multiple references to, quote, PSN account linked and, quote, PSN linking entitlements, end quote. Thus far, all the Sony PC games have been released on Steam in the Epic Games Store. While PlayStation has a PC brand, it's generally used as a collective term for all PC re-releases rather than a launcher. It is possible that these references could suggest a bespoke version of the PlayStation Store could come to the PC. This, coupled with references to the account integration, could eventually lead to cross-purchasing titles for PS5 and PC. It is unlikely that the first party would keep its games exclusive to this launcher. While Microsoft offers its games on its own store, it also releases games on Steam. However, some publishers, such as Rockstar, required a reduced version of the launcher client to be active, even when launching a game from Steam, as a means of verification. I don't need another launcher on my computer. Please, Sony, don't do this. If you do this, please do it like Microsoft and just have it in its own thing that I don't have to turn on. However, this is Sony we're talking about. Of course, they're going to make it as complicated as possible. They will have you go through Steam and then log on just like you have to with the Rockstar Social Club or Ubisoft's stupid-ass launcher, and you have to get another account there and tie it to your PlayStation Network ID and all that good stuff. And all this you would think that might entitle you to actually go through and have something cross-play, or not cross-play, cross-buy, where if you buy, say, God of War on the PlayStation 5, you would also have it on the PC. But once again, this is Sony we're talking about here. You know for a fact they're not going to do that. I don't even think they can afford to do that, because at the end of the day, while Microsoft does it, Sony is not Microsoft. So Microsoft is significantly larger than Sony. So they can get away with doing that shit on with the Game Pass and having the cross-platform, cross-buy functionality turned on, where if you buy it in one place, you have it everywhere. And they'll eat that cost. Sony can't necessarily do that. So as much as I love bashing Sony over their perceived ineptitude at actually making a service worth getting that can stand up to Game Pass, there's also matters of reality to consider. They don't have the cash reserves that Microsoft can. They can't just dump billions of dollars into something hoping to beat out the competition. Yes, I know it sounds like I'm trying to defend the big multinational here, but honestly, that when you compare the two, one can get away with it, the other can't. I don't know if this is actually going to happen, however. As we have all learned from the hot coffee fiasco back during the days of Grand Theft Auto 4, sometimes shit just gets put in a video game and left in there with no intention of ever taking it out. Developers even today, don't think that they're going to have fans coming through every single line of code to see what they can unlock through here. This could have been something that was on the drawing board at one time. Spider-Man could have been one of its big reveals. It could have been for internal testing, and they just never took it out. That's kind of what I'm leaning toward here. I wouldn't be surprised if Sony sets up a launcher, but honestly, that just seems like more effort than Sony is going to be willing to put into PC. I know Jim Ryan came out and said we're going to be doing a big PC push and we're going to be having more and more things popping on there. But at the end of the day, it still really does feel kind of like someone's pet project at Sony. The redheaded stepchild that might occasionally get some love here and there. They really don't seem like they have their heart fully invested in PC yet. Now, I know that they have these weird Sony branded monitors coming out soon, but they're not calling them PlayStation monitors. They're not using that brand. They're using something else. InZone, I think. Forgive me, I don't quite remember what that brand was going to be. This just feels like something they might have been testing internally. They ran some code on it to see if it would work, and they just forgot to take it out of the game, if you ask me. That's what this feels like, because it just feels lazy to have left it in there. And if there's anything that I associate with Sony, is doing the bare minimum of work for anything. If it is more advantageous for them just to turn off the code and try to hide it in the game rather than take it out, they will absolutely do that. And once again, that's what I think happened here. All right. Enough of that. Let me know what you think down below, by the way. Are you guys fine with launchers? I know the argument is it's just a simple button click and you go from there. But it's goddamn annoying to have my library spread out over 15 different companies. I'd like to keep it all centralized. It's one of the reasons why I've fallen out of streaming anymore. You used to have Netflix and not streaming like this, but like TV streaming. You used to have Hulu and Disney Plus, and it used to be at once Hulu and Netflix. And then now it's WB Discovery, HBO Max, Disney Plus. After a while, you just start getting tired of it all. And then much like how we all abandoned cable because the cost kept going up and up and up and we just didn't care, now the same thing is happening. The costs of these things are increasing and we're just tuning out. There's a reason why subscription services, at least when it comes to the TV streaming side of things, seem to be floundering. And video games can go that route. I understand that the launchers are free, so they might not necessarily have as major of an impact, but there does come a point where people are just tired of having to look in 17 different places to track down where their games are at. There's a reason why EA's backed off of Origin and why you really don't hear too much about Uplay anymore. So, of course, it makes perfect sense Sony would try to cash in on that dying trend. Anyways, let me know what you think about down below. Like I mentioned, I'm kind of curious to see what your guys' takes are on these various launchers. Am I just off base here? Am I old man screaming at cloud? Or is there an actual problem that we need to look into here? All right. Next up, it's not really one story as much as a collection of them. And that is the fact that 2020 year is once again proving to be the year of the delay. And I am... Let's let this speak for itself. I've got 4 delays out here to add to the myriad of them that we've already had in 2020. Let's start off with the fact that Hogwarts Legacy is now delayed out of this year. Going to be launching February 10th on 2023 for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, with the Nintendo Switch launch date to be revealed soon. I'd be willing to bet that Switch port is the reason why this was delayed, by the way. So many games are trying to be cross-gen or crossed over to the Switch, and it, in my opinion, is causing problems with the full development of the game. You can only develop for the lowest common denominator. So while this may be nice for PlayStation, look shiny on PlayStation 5, it's not going to be not as neat as it could be because you got to have it run on Switch too. And that is a problem because Switch, I love it, but it's last gen hardware. It's PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, not 360, Xbox One status. You can't really show off what a PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S and X can do until we stop making these things. So that will now be next year. Also coming up, Deliver Us from Mars has been delayed. Here's a quick update from the makers. Deliver Us Mars. Sorry. Deliver Us Mars is Koken's Interactive's most ambitious project to date. The journey that players will take as Kathy Johnson is packed deeply with emotional moments and fraught with danger. It is important to us that this experience is best it can be at launch. With this in mind, we've collectively made the difficult decision to move the release date to the 2nd of February, 2023. At least they're just saying, hey, we want to improve it, rather than feels like they're jerking me around. They're at least saying, hey, it's not where we want it to be yet. Also delayed, Evil West. First of all, I would like to thank you for the continued support and patience, Evil West. We're overwhelmed by the incredible reception the game's gotten so far from our trailers and demos you've played at PAX East. Blah, 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 blah. We are working on our very best to achieve our vision of Evil West and to meet your expectations. Evil West releases on 5 platforms, including multiple generations of consoles. That's what I'm talking about. It's this commitment to cross-gen play that's delaying this shit. They're coming out and saying it. They're mentioning that they're releasing on 5 platforms, including multiple generations of consoles. It's the last gen shit that's holding this stuff back. I promise you that's what's going on. But either way, Evil West delayed till November 22nd, 2022. Not that long of a delay, but still a delay. Finally, Nightingale's early access has been pushed back. We've made the difficult decision to delay Nightingale's early access release to the first half of 2023. We'll have more news on specific timing at a later stage. This move is based on 2 considerations. The first is an upgrade to Unreal Engine 5. A lot of games have been delayed because of that. Unreal Engine 5 is apparently the bee's knees, and a lot of people are moving to that. After reviewing the potential UE5 has to offer, we decided on upgrading now rather than waiting until after release. I can actually respect that decision. Just don't chase the newest and greatest or you turn into Star Citizen, so be aware of that. Secondly, Inflection Games is committed to delivering the best possible experience within the promise what Nightingale's universe of realms has to offer players. To achieve that, the additional time will allow the team to make key improvements, bolster content, and polish gameplay. Now, when I see bolster content, I also get worried because this is going to be one of those live service games, Nightingale specifically. You need a steady stream of content to keep people involved, especially if you're a brand new game with a brand new IP and you're coming in hot against all the other live service stuff out there. You need to have even more people developing your game after it launches than before it launches to ensure a steady stream of consumable content. That is why when I see a live service game like Nightingale, which as much as I love its premise and setting, it's kind of a strike against it for me because I'm not either I'm going to have a bare bones experience, it seems, with almost nothing in it. They just wanted to get it out the door, and this is entering early access, so they can use that as justification. Or it's going to be so greedy for my time that I'm just not going to be able to devote anything to it. One or the other. That seems to be my experience of live service games anyways. And if you're not Destiny and you're not top of the game or anything like that, I just don't got time for you. Sorry. That said, I wish the best for Nightingale. I do want to play it, at least take a look at it. Who knows? It could be great. Which brings me to the year of the delay. 2023 has shaped up to be horrendous for release dates. Now, a lot of us still riding on issues caused by the pandemic that happened over the past couple of years or so. But as I've said multiple times, we can't really use that as an excuse anymore. What I think the main reason behind a lot of that stuff is that last gen is holding up current gen. A lot of these delays have something in common, and it's the fact that they're delaying they're developing for PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, for Xbox Series S and X and Xbox One. Making your game now on Unreal Engine 4 when Unreal Engine 5 is out now. So that's kind of, it's different but similar in the fact that you're now focusing on new technology. To give you an idea of how many things have been delayed so far, let me just go through this list. Now, first 2 I have on here, I suddenly realized it's a little bit understandable because they are for reasons not under the studio's control to a degree. Like, for example, Stalker 2 has been delayed, but the Ukrainian war kind of fucks directly with the development of that game, so I get why that was pushed back and delayed. Same with Advance Wars 1 and 2. Admittedly, Nintendo has no interest, or I should say no skin in the game when it comes to the war between the Ukraine and Russia. However, releasing a war game, because it was supposed to come out right when Russia invaded, releasing a war game at that time might have been seen as insensitive, so I get why that was delayed as well. Let's take a look at this other stuff, though. This is by no means a complete list of things that were delayed this year, by the way. The Settlers from Ubisoft. The Settlers is a long-standing IP. They were going to be reintroducing it with a brand new game this year. It's delayed to who knows when. Life is Strange Remastered, delayed to later this year. Exo Mecha, delayed. Halo Infinite's co-op. Not only did that game not ship with the co-op on there, but the co-op's original release date has been pushed back again. Forspoken. I know we're all having a good time with the memes about that recent trailer where everything seems just Whedon-esque now, and I'm kind of tired of hearing video games having quips left and right nonstop. It can be the end of the world, and the person treats it with the same irreverence as they would ordering a cup of coffee at Starbucks. But that game has also been delayed. It was supposed to come out much earlier this year, now slated for later. EGA Sports PGA. This is EA's return to golf. Remember, they used to make all those Tiger Woods games, and then Tiger Woods kind of went nuts. They were supposed to be making a brand new golf game, delayed now from 2022 to 2023. Sons of the Forest. This is the sequel to The Forest. I know. We saw trailers for this off and on over the past few months. I think it was at the Keeleys, the Game Awards. I think is the last time I saw a major trailer for it. But that was supposed to come out this year. That's now been delayed. Breath of the Wild 2, delayed multiple times. The next-gen versions of The Witcher 3, CD Projekt Red delayed that. You can say that's probably because they're working on Cyberpunk 2077. I don't think so. I think it's because that company's lost so much of its value. They're kind of trying to scramble to make sure they just don't, I don't want to say go under, but they're definitely under the gun for other reasons that could be leading to that delay. Redfall, the asymmetric vampire hunting game, pushed out to next year from Arcane. I want Redfall to be good because I love Arcane, but I do get the feeling that might be a waste of their talents making a live service game, what is essentially going to be a live service game, considering how well they are at single-player experiences. Goddamn Starfield, while we're on the Bethesda train. Starfield delayed till next year. Again, that was supposed to be coming out 11/11 or 11/12, one of the two. Now next year. That had to hurt to push back because that was such a sexy release date, too. Hopefully, it ends up looking better than it did because the trailer that I saw with that gameplay on there not too long ago really seemed boring as hell. It seemed like Fallout 4 again. And while I don't mind Fallout 4, I kind of expect a little bit more from my video games now. Kerbal Space Program 2 has been delayed. Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake's been delayed. Homeworld 3 has been delayed. Sea of Stars, this is the next game from the people that made The Messenger, delayed. That Avatar game from Ubisoft, delayed. Lord of the Rings Gollum, delayed. Warhammer 40k Dark Time, delayed. Season, delayed. Arc Raiders, delayed. Midnight Suns, delayed. Metal Slug Tactics, delayed. I could have easily probably put twice as many games on this list. All delayed. Individually, who cares? Take your time, make something to work right. But when you have everything being delayed, there's got to be something wrong. It could be because we're on the verge of a global recession, so companies are cutting costs and maybe even reevaluating whether some of this stuff is coming out. It could be because we spent the past few years working from home, and now studios are trying to adapt to the new the new reality, as it were, as they're trying to bring some people back in, and there's meeting resistance there. It could be that video games have finally hit that oversaturation point where what I mean by that is, as I've said multiple times, video games are no longer fighting for your dollar, they're fighting for your time. Maybe we finally hit that oversaturation point where the bean counter suddenly realized we can't release this stuff until we know that our previous releases have spent their capital already, when people are done playing those, so they don't want to start stacking them up against each other. Some of this is marketing. Some of this got the hell out of God of War's way. Some of this went, you know what, it's going to look better in second or third quarter rather than first quarter or fourth quarter of the previous year. But there is something going on. And I don't know exactly what it is, because I have a hard time believing that this is still solely from issues caused by the pandemic. I believe that this is because there are multiple companies possibly on the verge of going through major layoffs. I think that might be what's going on here, and they're starting to wind some things down or shift things to a skeleton crew, which in turn is going to delay things And of course, you don't necessarily want to come out and say that's why you're doing it, because it scares investors. That's what my gut says. Anyways, let me know what your opinions on this specific thing down below is. Not any one individual game getting delayed, but the wide swath of them getting just shunted out of 2022 into 2023. And who the hell knows if that's even the case. I have gone on about how the fact that these delays, while on the individual problem isn't an issue, when you have a mass gathering of them like this, it starts to erode faith in the industry very, very quickly. To the point now where if a game comes out and tells me its release date, I immediately add 6 months to it. That's not something that I should be doing. You don't want that from a marketing standpoint. You don't want me to listen to your marketing blitz and immediately go, well, that's bullshit. Because if I start thinking that release date's bullshit, what else about it am I going to think is bullshit? Now, from a cynical point of view, that's a good thing. This industry lies to us nonstop when it comes to its trailers. I mean, we can point all the way back to the Killzone 2 bullshit trailer that they showed at E3 one year, how it looked nothing like it. And that's probably one of the first instances where I can think of where the internet really ran with calling the game out on it. And it's only gone worse since then. It existed well before then, don't get me wrong. But that was like the first big incidents I can think of where people were really like, are you fucking kidding me with this? I think people are just tired of being lied to. And I know that they're not necessarily lying. Shit happens. But that is the conclusion that people are going to start coming to. And they really need to watch out with that, because they're going to cost themselves what little goodwill they have left. Anyways, like I said a couple times, let me know what you think on this topic. I am being hyperbolic. I fully understand that. But I do want to know what other people are feeling here with this vibe. Got one upcoming event that I did want to mention, and that is happening on Friday, September 9th. Disney will be doing its Games Showcase, Disney and Marvel. And why that's jumping around, I have no idea, but it's not letting me focus on one or the other. The Disney and Marvel Games Showcase will be streamed worldwide on Friday, September 9th at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 4 p.m. Eastern. The digital showcase will feature incredible new content from Disney and Pixar games, Marvel games, Lucasfilm games, and 20th Century games. In addition to all new announcements, fans can expect new reveals from titles including the Disney Dreamlight Valley, Marvel's Midnight Suns, and LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, which is weird because that game's been out, possibly DLC, I'd imagine, as well as a sneak peek at an upcoming Marvel ensemble game from Skydance New Media. I get a distinct feeling that's all that's going to be shown here. I get the feeling it's going to be 20 minutes of stuff we already knew about, and maybe a little bit of what the Skydance thing here is. So don't expect anything from, say, Insomniac's Wolverine game. Don't expect anything from Star Wars Eclipse from Quantic Dream. I would expect from those 4 specific titles and nothing else. Maybe stuff that's already out. Maybe like some weird Star Wars crossover with Fortnite, because God forbid we not put more metaverse shit into Fortnite. But I would keep expectations low for this. And absolutely do not expect Kingdom Hearts from this. At all. In my opinion. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I think that if they were going to have anything like that, you would have seen it in this announcement down here, because you lead with your big stuff. You tease the hype. You don't just kind of go, oh, we'll have these smaller games. Not that Midnight Suns is a smaller game or anything. We'll have this stuff and then have a big reveal surprise. You tease your big stuff out the gate. So this is what I would expect to see. It's just only those 4 games and nothing else. That is going to be a bit from now, though, so you guys do need things to play between now and then, so I do have a few new releases for you. Starting with Way of the Hunter on PC. We were talking about this earlier. This is at the THQ Nordic Showcase. Become the new owner of a hunting lodge nestled amongst gorgeous habitats and rich animal populations. Explore vast open-world environments and hunt a premium selection of firearms. Hunt with a premium selection of firearms. You're not actually hunting the firearms. Enjoy the perfect hunt on your own or with friends and co-ops. I'm not really into this, John, but I kind of want to take a look at this. I do want to sit down and play with it one day. It's on the list. Let's put it that way. Also out this week, Roller Dome on the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and PC. Roller Dome is a single-player, third-person action shooter that seamlessly blends high-octane combat with fluid motion to create an action experience like no other. Dominating style of cinematic, visceral combat kills net you health, and pulling off tricks and grinds provide you with ammunition. This looks like Tony Hawk Crossed of Doom. I'm kind of into it. Want to take a look at it for sure. Also out this week, Kirby's Dream Buffet on the Switch. Roll through a smorgasbord of food-themed stages and delicious 4-player competition as a rounder-than-usual Kirby. Anyone can take the cake in Kirby's Dream Buffet. Party game with Kirby. Thymesia on the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. For fans of games like Dark Souls and Bloodborne comes Thymesia, a dark, challenging Souls-like RPG where the plague is your weapon. When once a thriving kingdom is infested by terrifying monsters, it's up to the mysterious character known only as Corvus to find out why. Wielding the power of disease as a weapon, Corvus must fight his way through the dark and desolate kingdom while trying to recover his lost memories along the way. Strong Dark Souls vibes to it. I know everything that's an action RPG gets associated with Dark Souls. I get it. But that seems to be what this looks like. A Souls-like game. A stamina-based combat game. Also coming out this week, We Are OFK on the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and Switch. From the indie pop band OFK, the music biopic, an interactive EP about 4 friends dreaming, dating, and paying the rent in Los Angeles. A story of the creative process and the things that get in the way. This is weird. This seems to be, well, like they say, a music biopic, so it's not really even necessarily a game as much as like an interactive story, from what it seems to be. I remember seeing the trailer for this months back, and I didn't know what to think. I thought it was going to be some kind of story, but apparently this We Are OFK band or OFK band exists. Like, it's an actual honest-to-God band. They have an album out, and they seem to be trying to do the Gorillaz thing where it's a virtual band. And this is supposed to be their biopic. So a created from whole cloth story to go along with a created from whole cloth band. Okay. Cool. If you're into that, take a look at that. Also out this week on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Series X, Xbox One, PC is Madden NFL 23. It's Madden. What more can you say other than it's Madden? I would mock it because I don't play Madden and I tend to not like it myself, but it is also one of the biggest selling games of each year, so I can only mock it in a slightly tongue-in-cheek tone. I fully recognize that it's a juggernaut and will be a huge seller, especially when considering how sparse this year is. Anyways, that wraps things up. Thank you all for showing up. This has been GamePoints episode 232, and we do stream every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here at twitch.tv/GamePoints. You can join the conversation live like so many of you do. Ninja Wolf, thank you for coming on by. BVS, Chad, and everyone else lurking. I do appreciate it. If you can't join us live, however, watch us on any myriad of video hosting platforms, YouTube, Rumble, BitChute. There's a Discord you can join. There's various Twitters you can follow. And, of course, if you want to support the stream, you know what streamers want. Likes, bits, subs, all that good stuff. My allergies are starting to kill me, and my nose is starting to get stuffed up, and my throat is extremely dry after talking for 40 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. Till next week, this has been GamePoints. I'm out of here.